Today we're going to start setting tapasyas. And tapasya, well, it can be considered fun, but actually, what it does is it builds the energy in our system. And the tapasya, when we apply them, kind of burns away the obstacles and burns away the impurities. So what we're trying to do is purify the nervous system. When you purify the nervous system, you can support a higher energy, a higher pitch and frequency. And when you do that, bigger energy, bigger life, bigger impact. Now, think of it this way. When you're starting a fire, you have to put little twigs together on top of each other, and then you've got to blow and tend to it, because if you stop, it's going to go out. And every time you move away, it goes out. Your fire goes out. But if you tend to it and it gets going, you get a few embers, then you throw some bigger sticks on, a few bigger sticks. Eventually, what happens is the fire's roaring, and every so often you just throw a log on, and it keeps going. This is the thing that we want to try and get happening, this metaphor, for when we build our tapasyas. If you set your tapasya and you break it, the fire goes out. And every time you do that, it gets weaker and weaker. We want to build this incredible fire in our system that first of all starts to purify our system, to detoxify ourselves. And then secondly, that turns into psychic heat, which starts to remove the avidya, the ignorance. It starts to burn away the belief patterns so that we start to become more illuminated in life. This is how it works. What we're trying to do is add one thing into our life that will add energy, that will build and purify the consciousness. And then we want to subtract one thing that we're doing that dulls our energy, right, that we know that's not so useful. So for example, we might have 4 cups of coffee a day. And it's not the coffee that's the problem, it's the habit. And if the habit is not supporting us, so we get wired, we don't sleep, we're jittery, then that's not so useful. So we might say, okay, let's just bring it down to 3 cups of coffee. So we're not trying to be perfect beings, but we're working down to doing less of what's not useful for ourselves and more of what starts to help us increase our pitch and frequency as far as energy is concerned. In India, you see the Nagababas and some of the ascetics do crazy tapasyas. Now, they come from traditions where they're dualistic, meaning that the body is an obstacle to moving to the highest level of human possibility, back to yoga. So they do all these, kind of austerities that kind of look like torture in a way, to be able to release or unlock their consciousness from this container of the body. Thankfully for us, we consider ourselves to be tantrikas, so the body is part of the whole process of consciousness. It's part of the Mother Nature force of Shakti. But, for example, they hold their arm up in the air and they say, I'm not going to drop my arm down, and I'm going to do it for the Divine Mother or God. And they hold them up in the air and they get locked there. And the arm becomes kind of deadened, the hand dies away. Now, to do that takes incredible discipline. At some point, it would have been really painful to put that into action. But they do it. Some yogis will say, for example, I'm not going to lay down for 10 or 12 years. So they carry a sling with them, and when they sleep at night, they stand up and they hang over the sling. Ridiculous. But it works. It's very powerful. We're not going to do those things. You can have a look at on Google and Google the rolling Baba of India. He's a Baba that rolled 3,000 to 4,000 kilometers across India for the Divine Mother. He rolled through the city in the monsoons. He rolled across the desert. His support crew were dropping like flies. But what he said was, and this is the attitude that you want to take, nothing can prevent me from getting to my end destination. The only thing that can prevent me is the Divine Mother, right? Which is who he was rolling towards. That was his end goal, the Divine Mother. And he said, nothing can stop me. It's impossible. Nothing can stop me unless the Divine Mother doesn't want me to get there. That's the attitude that we want for Tapasya. But we're only going to do something like, let's say doing meditation is very useful for building your energy. We're going to say, I'm going to do 5 minutes a day. Many will ask, well, why not say 20 minutes? Because with our busy lives and all the stuff that's happening, say for example, you get home at midnight after a busy day and you say, oh, damn, I got to meditate for 20 minutes. I'm not doing it. But it's only 5, you're quite likely to do it. And if you do 20 minutes each day or half an hour or an hour, that's all icing on the cake. The thing is, if you do 5 minutes and don't break it, you don't break your Tapasya and your fire builds. The same when we're removing something. You don't have to completely wipe it out, but start to move down. Okay, so I'm going to take away negative thinking. I'm going to take away self-criticism, or I'm going to be aware of it and replace it with positive thoughts about myself. I'm going to eat less junk food. I'm going to eat less. I'm going to drink less. But you want to define whatever that is that you're subtracting. Put a container around it so that you know that you can stick with it. Now you may also do it, say, I'm going to do 5 out of 7 days a week. You're going to have 2 days off. But the point is, whatever you set, make it really, really realistic and achievable, because what we want to do is you don't want to break it. So what I want you to do now, set your Tapasya. What we do is we do it for each month, and what you're going to subtract and add, you can have a look at other people to get examples. And then halfway through the month, at the end of the month, we give ourselves a fire rating out of 10. So how successful we were halfway through the month, and then how successful we were at the end. And we're looking for 8 and above, if we can. Sometimes we have a little hiccup, once or twice over the month, but ideally we want to keep it burning the whole way. Now this is super powerful, and be aware that as you build your container by adding and subtracting, you're going to push up against your edges, you're going to push up against your limitations. When they come up strong, get onto the coaches, get help, connect in with the Sangha, get help. That's what it's there for. If you try to do it by yourself, you tend to fall back into the old habits. And this is the problem. We want to start setting aside these identities. Purify our system, raise our consciousness, and live with a higher pitch and frequency so that we can take it out into the world. Enjoy firing up and taking it out into life. Namaste.